People need an income that's guaranteed to them.
If you lose money to taxes, you never get that money back.
You need to get serious about adding some lower risk.
Greed. I don't like greed.
The thing to be afraid of, honestly, is the thing that we're not thinking of, the black swan event.
There's a tsunami coming. Bye.
Welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Just coffee talk.
There's a lot of noise, a lot of chatter. Who do you listen to? Who do you not listen to? You have to stay focused.
A fun and informative look at the issues of wealth, retirement, and protecting your life savings.
These advisors out there that were trained to sell, and have all these fees. They don't want to talk about this product, so they make less money.
And now, Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Hello again and welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. My name is Randy Cook, and each week Charisse and I get together and talk through some of the things you might be wondering about, maybe worried about when it comes to planning for your retirement. You've been working all these years, you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, everything's been going along just fine, but there's a time when that's going to come to an end. You're going to hang up your cleats, so to speak, get out of that cubicle, and now all of a sudden all that paycheck stuff is up to you. How does that work? Well, that's what we talk about here on the show, and we have some fun doing it. Charisse, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. My tan is getting better finally.
Well, wait till we get out on the golf course in the golf tournament. Then it's really going to be good.
I know. I'm excited about it. I just have not gotten on the course hitting balls like I need to. So, but here come June 17th, we're going to have that Grilled Cheese Foundation golf scramble. And I do want to be able to back up what I say on radio. So I got to really keep working hard. It doesn't matter how good your game is, you have bad games too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I've been spreading the word, Charisse, and when I mention it, it's for the Grilled Cheese Foundation. And they go, well, what is that? And I say, well, that's Charisse's charity, and she put this all together herself. Why don't you explain exactly what it's all about, how it helps kids, and why we're doing this?
Yes. So the Grilled Cheese Foundation is a 501c3. We started back in 2019. COVID slowed everything down, and now we're kind of pushing forward. And it's to help the local community kids in 6th grade all the way to 12th grade, help foster their passions. And it's one of those things that falls back to my livelihood when I was a kid living in the Keys. You think all the Keys people are super rich, but we were the poor ones there. And thankfully, because of the community helping my sister with dance, and I had a dance studio helping me, and the community wrapping themselves around my brother, they really helped our father who raised us. And those little pushes gave us hope. It gave us that hey, you're going to make it against all odds. And it helped us find our passions and what we love doing most. And what we want to do is carry that forward and help kids in Marion County, Lake and Sumter, Monroe County, Alachua County that are in the same boat, that are in a single parent family household that, you know, sometimes those families have enough to put food on the table, but yet they don't have enough for the kids to go to dance or football or find those things that they're going to excel in, whatever it might be. So we have the Find Your Passion Scholarship, and we also have the Fresh Start Scholarship, which we just gave away just a couple of weeks ago to help kids get to college that can't even afford those ancillary items, from down payments for their rentals and those types of things. That's important because that'll stop a student from even making it to college if they had the opportunity to go. And then we have the Go Beyond Scholarship that helps pay for the 4-year college degrees. So I had all those things. I was very blessed. I would not be doing what we're doing today without that help. And we want to help students that have that same worldly issue, right? And we want to help everybody out there. And so the Grilled Cheese Foundation, we are doing a golf scramble here, June 17th. And I just found out that the hole-in-one just got better, Randy. It's a $20,000 hole-in-one. Hey-o. And we can actually give out 3 awards. So we can give out, if 3 people on that scramble actually get the hole-in-one, every single one of them get paid out that $20,000, which is amazing.
Nice.
So that was news to me. So we're really excited. We have a lot of people in the community who are like, yeah, we'll come, we'll participate. And we're excited because sometimes that's the scariest thing. You don't know if anybody else wants to be part of it. But what we've found out is our communities are quite kind. And anytime somebody's wanting to help out kids or other people, they want to help out. So, go to our website, zinniawealth.com. Right on the front page, it'll show you where to sign up. And I'm excited. And Randy gets to come play with me. And I'm very excited about it.
It's going to be great. Country Club of Ocala is where we'll be playing. And we've got an early tea time on Monday, the 17th. So it'll be fun. We're encouraging you to come on out and sign up and support the cause. I think that, look at what people did for Charisse and how she's giving back. I mean, this is how you make an impression and how to pay it forward and how you can make a difference not only now, but years to come, because when you are the beneficiary of something like this, that sticks in your heart, and that means these kids will probably give back as well later on in life. So let's help out right now. Go to our website, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. Right on the front page there, you'll see it. You can click on the golf tournament there, and you'll know all the details that you need. All right, well, why don't we get started here for today, Charisse? The last time we were sitting down here, I was looking through some stories, and in 1 week, 3 stories and 3 surveys about retirement came out. One from AARP, one from the Employee Benefit Research Institute, and one from Hearts and Wallets. And these are places that we regularly look. And I found kind of a common thread that went through all of their findings. Here it is. 27% of retirees say they've been forced to live more frugally than what they thought. 37% said, I wish I would have eliminated more debt before I retired. And 75% said they were going to work in retirement, but only about half of them actually did. So when you look at that, what is this saying? It's saying, I need more money. I thought I'd have more money. I should have paid off my house. Then I'd have more money. I thought I would work because I want more money. Charisse, they all want more money. So what's the problem here? People are going into retirement. They think they need one thing. They get there and they find out, oh, my gosh, I need more. So how do we avoid all that?
I will tell you, we do income planning every day. We are all trained to do it. It's in writing. And I don't know how anybody can, make decisions to even retire without one built out where you can visualize and see it. Do you know how many people come in and say, okay, Charisse, can I retire now? That's the big conversation on the table. How can I, so that when I want to walk out those double doors to the employer and I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired because I'm getting close, I want to be able to know that I can do it and I can do it well, right? And I want to receive those paychecks. And like clockwork, they'll say, I'm going to go do an encore career. So here's my Social Security. This is what I have saved. And I'm going to have part-time wages. Every time, I want to say it closer to 60% of those people that want part-time wages, that we build it into their plan, that actually doesn't come to fruition at all. And so then we go back to the table and I said, well, because when we're building out the income plan, I said, well, what if you don't have part-time wages? Let's look at the plan. So we want to look at this plan and build it out with the part-time wages, because you might want to do something really neat you've never done before, and maybe you're only making 10 grand a year. But if you're going to put that in your income plan for the next 5 to 10 years, and then it doesn't happen, we need to make sure that there is enough money saved when you do walk out those double doors to your employer, that you can still survive and thrive throughout that retirement journey. So as a holistic retirement planner in this industry, that is one of the big steps that we both have to understand. Our advisors and you personally need to understand the economics of what you have saved. Is there anything paid off? Is everything paid off? Do you need a new roof in 5 years or a new car? How much money do we need for that? Are we still paying for the kids' colleges? What are we doing? And all those moving parts come into this income plan and that play, and it will help us figure out, can you retire now? Or can't you? And the fun thing is, what we find out is 7 out of 10 people who do walk in our doors, they can retire now. And we show it on a very pessimistic plan. And I didn't know this, I'll be honest with you, 15 years ago, that people could retire now as long as we have this proper plan in place, we're balanced, and we get a little bit creative with the plan. Because I didn't have this software. I just used some of this other software that was in the market. It was awful. I was using Excel sheets. This software that we created to help share your vision with your family and recreate it every year if we had to. We do that with our clients. It's not just, hey, here's your plan and you're done. No, every year life happens and we're having to tweak that income plan. But knowing it and seeing it is believing it. And believing is that ultimate confidence that you're going to have when you are retired. Is that ultimate confidence that you're going to have when you say, hey, I'm retiring, Mr. and Mrs. Boss, and I'm done. And how can you make that decision if you haven't seen the plan? How do you know? You can't guess. Guessing is not a plan, right? Yep. And so that's why we want people to come in to figure out, can you retire and how can you retire? And if you can't, we're going to show you what you need to do. What are the next steps so that you can retire sooner than later?
A lot of people come in with the question, how much do I need to retire? Well, you've put money away. You've been a good saver. Let's do the math on that. As Charisse always says, let's see what you've saved gives you per month. And if there's a gap there, let's start working on it. How much do you need to retire? Have you saved enough to retire? We can do the numbers on that. Give us a call. Give us a look. We'll do that for you at no charge. Here's our website, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. There's a gold box down in the lower right-hand corner. It says, schedule a complimentary retirement consultation. That's exactly what it is. It's a free look and a free sit-down as we go through the math of your retirement. Let's find out if you've saved enough, you have enough, and your income is going to be enough to retire. 833-368-3680 is our number. You can give us a call there and schedule some time with Charisse. Let's get a date on a calendar real soon. 833-368-3680. So there's how much do I need? There's did I do enough for retirement? And then there's a question that you should be asking yourself, and that is, how much do I spend? Because
Yes.
That's a big one. There's a new study from the Federal Reserve. It says the top 10% of households by net worth have saved about an average $1.29 million in their retirement accounts. Congratulations. As we say all the time, you've been a good saver. But it's interesting how someone can come in and have saved $500,000 and they're going to be just fine. But this person who saved over $1 million, they're not. So, Charisse, have you ever sat down with somebody who looked good on paper and they were pretty confident about what they've saved, but then you said, oh boy, look at the spending here. You're one of these people who's going to be in trouble?
Randy, every day. Every day. It is amazing.
Okay.
I get both of those types of households in our office, and our other advisors do too. And it's a shocking thing for us because, somebody could walk in with, $3 million and I fear that they could run out of money based on their plan, based on what they spend, right? And so those people, if you don't have a pension, maybe you are a business owner and maybe your Social Security checks are reasonable, but you are your own pension manager. If you don't have your debt paid off or you're just spending loosely and you haven't figured out what your real true inventory is, and your assets and your liabilities, this is what we do for you. And a lot of these business owners, we spend money and sometimes it goes right out the door. I know some of you are thinking, oh yeah. And when you retire, now you're on a fixed income, you've sold your businesses or you sold your buildings, and now you're, okay, so now I got to crack down. That's not a fun retirement. I got to be on this fixed income. I mean, I can't just spend. Hey, listen, you can, but we have to be very diligent and we have to be cautious and we have to really have different alternatives and different strategies in that portfolio. Then, Randy, we'll get somebody who save maybe $500,000, but they have a rock star Social Security check. They have an amazing pension, and that Social Security and pension covers all their bills plus all their travel. So what they saved, most of them aren't even using. It's being left as a legacy. So again, we see both types of households in our office and we help both. I will say this much. Those people, whether you save $500,000 or $5 million for retirement, each and every one of you are going to have your own issues. You're going to have your own hazards that are going to come your way. Lots of similar hazards that both types of people will have. But there's also the health hazards. There's the tax hazards. There's other types of hazards that you really do have to focus on. So if you only saved $500,000 and we had a parent who had dementia, then we do need to work on maybe some sort of elder planning strategy. So those assets are preserved for the surviving spouse in the house. Because what if you do have a great Social Security and a rock star pension, but that pension doesn't pass to your wife or vice versa? If the wife has the pension, does it pass to your husband? It does it pass 100% or 50%? So when we build out that income plan, we got to toggle back and forth. Well, what if you pass away first? Or I can get a little morbid in my office, but it's reality. And I need to paint that picture like, what if? Here's a what if. What if you go to long-term care? What if you pass away? Because we also lose one of the Social Security checks when somebody passes away. And on top of that, you have your widower's tax penalty and your taxes go up on average 25% and you have less income. So I know that's a lot to unpack to the people who are listening, but those are the things that we're thinking of when we're building the income plan, because we've seen it happen so many times, but I don't want it to happen on my watch. Zinnia Wealth and the team, we don't want it happening on our watch. We want to make sure that your watch keeps ticking, no matter how much time you have left. And that is, you don't have a change of lifestyle if somebody passes away. You don't have a change of lifestyle if somebody goes into a long-term care facility. We don't want all the assets spent down. So we want to create a plan, long-term care plan, an asset protection plan, a growth plan, an income plan, and a tax plan. All these things are so crucial. And it starts with budgeting and how much do we save? How much do we still owe in debt? Where do we stand? What are our fixed incomes?
So one of the things that we do on this show is kind of hold up the warning sign a little bit. You can learn from the people who've gone into retirement before you. And here we have these studies that say many people that get into retirement, one of the things they find is, I thought I'd have more money to spend. I should have got rid of my debt. Boy, I thought I would work, but now I can't. There's lots of ways that we want to have more money in retirement, but the best way to do that is to do the planning before you go into retirement. How much do you need? How much do you spend? Did you do enough? Let's do the math on it. Give us a call. We'll do it for you at no charge. We'll do that portfolio x-ray for you. Dig around in there and find out what your money's doing, how it's performing, and how we may be able to help. 833-368-3680 is our number, or use our website. That's so easy. ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. Click on the gold box, and you'll be on your way. Well, it's summertime now. You go on a trip, you rent a car, you go through the bill, and you go, what's this charge? Well, we've got a next story of a ridiculous charge that will kind of shock you. That's coming up next on Retirement Coffee Talk. Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. All right, so you go on a trip, you rent a car, you turn the car back in on time, everything's good, and then the people at Hertz send you the final bill. Okay, it happened to a guy who went to the Los Angeles airport and he rented a Tesla. And so he got the bill back and he was charged $277 to refill the gas tank. Well, folks, as you well know, Teslas are electric cars, and they don't have a gas tank. So, guy's like, what is this? And he had to go through all sorts of hoops, but I guess Hertz finally relented, and they refunded the money on the bogus gas charge.
That is hilarious. Like, pay attention to your receipts.
Come on, guys.
It's crazy. I went to a cookie place, and I got a text of the receipt, and I saw this fee on there. It was like an extra icing fee. I'm like, I didn't get extra icing, but I wasn't going back in there for pennies. But I'm just like, people, I think people are taught to add fees.
Yeah, I know it. You look at sometimes on the restaurant.
They won't notice.
They'll still have the COVID stuff on there. They're still charging that fee. So, I mean, you have to watch out for this. There are bogus fees all over the place. So here's why I want to talk about this, Sharice. The financial industry is notorious for this. I mean, they charge fees for us to have our money in Vanguard and Fidelity and all of that. We don't even know that. And they say, well, it's in the prospectus. And you go, well, what's that? And diving into a 100-page prospectus to try to figure out how much all this is costing you is like beyond me. It's like, forget it. I'm not doing it. In the meantime, we pay fees for years. And Charisse, one of the things that you do is you figure out what fees are not for just 1 year, but what they are for like 5, 6, 10, 20 years. And then it starts to become real money, doesn't it?
It does. And I'm going to tell you, the financial services industry, Randy, I think it's borderline criminal because the fees that people are paying on the daily for their Class A share mutual funds that they don't even know the fees are built in. Some of these fiduciaries out there that are charging 1.5% on a total portfolio of $1 million. It's highway robbery. And even when you go to the bank, there's fees built in. Some annuities out there, there's fees built in. Expense ratios on exchange traded funds, index funds, and mutual funds, it's also another fee. So if you're going to get dinged with all these fees, we have to make sense of it. And this is why we do run that portfolio x-ray for everyone who comes in, Randy, because I want to see, hey, Kay, you have 50 funds in your portfolio, whether it's in a 401k or if it's over at Fisher Investments or if it's over at a mutual fund company that's charging you high commissions. I want to see what every commission is on every fund you own. I want to see what every 12B1 fee is or expense ratio fee that the company gets paid is on every one of your funds. Because what we find is a lot of people have overlap. And the overlap means everything's doing the same thing in your portfolio. And if you have 3 funds with 3 different companies and they're doing the same exact thing, but one of them has a commission and the other one has a, 1% internal fee, and then one of them has that fee with commission and wrap fee, we're going to say, well, keep one. Let's keep the lowest cost one and get rid of the other 2 because they're all doing the same thing. And now let's get a little bit balanced and sprinkle in some other ideas and alternatives into the portfolio. So we like to take a scalpel to your portfolio and show you what we like, what we don't like, and actually why. There's a why behind what we do. And in the financial services industry, Wall Street always wins. I love to use Fisher Investments. And the reason is they have amazing commercials. Why you should hate annuities. They're just really great at marketing. That's all they're good at. They're really not great at anything else, in my opinion, but you'll figure it out over time. But what I will say is they have the commercials and they're great. And they're fiduciaries, right? And they charge fees on your investments that are with them. So they're not going to charge you commissions. But their commercials about fiduciary say, when you make money, we make money. When you lose money, we lose money.
No. When you lose money, we still make money. They don't tell you that.
We still make money. And they will charge 1.25 to 1.5% on the entire investment. You know how many people come to me that had $2, $3, $4 million with Fisher Investments, and they're not doing anything or anything different than you just going and buying some index funds on your own, yet still charging you that kind of money. So the industry has really solidified that it's okay for you to be charged on all of your accounts at a heavy load of fees because you're retired and you got to have this fiduciary. Not all fiduciaries are created equally, remember? And when you come in, we'll educate you about that. And if you want to stay with Fisher, stay with Fisher. If you want to stay with this broker dealer, stay with this broker dealer. If you want to stay with this insurance agent, that's fine. But let us educate you. Let us show you how you can do the same thing, probably reduce risk, and possibly even have a higher return, all on top of probably lowering your fees by an average of 0.75% to 1%.
Gosh.
Because if the market goes down and Fisher loses you 45% like he did in 2008, and you have a 1.5% fee that is beating up your account as you're going down the tubes for 2 years and as you're crawling yourself out of this hole for 5 years, at 7 years, wouldn't it be better to have a like item instrument in your portfolio that doesn't have a fee or half the fee so you can get back to even quicker? I mean, we're just planting the seed for the listeners to really understand that there is a better way.
Yeah, one of the things about fees is they put them in your losses so you don't see them. They pull it out of your gains so you don't see it. Instead of, making 7% like you're supposed to, you make 5%, but you go, well, I made 5%. Well, the reason you made 5% is you paid 2% in fees, and you maybe can limit that, and that's one of the things that comes out of our portfolio x-ray. I'll bet you know how much you have in your account I'll bet you don't know how much it's costing you. We can give you that number, and maybe we can help you put some of that money in your pocket. Give us a call. We'll do the free portfolio x-ray, and the fee analysis is part of that x-ray. You'll get that number. 833-368-3680 is our number. 833-368-3680. Or find us online, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com, and click on that gold box there that says Complimentary Retirement Consultation. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, if you have a pension, everybody loves a pension, but there's a lot of people that will take the lump sum. Give that money to me, I'll control it through my retirement. Well, there's some people that are sorry that they did that, and we'll tell you that story and how to avoid it. Coming up next on Retirement Coffee Talk. Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, you can find us at zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. Hey, when you go there, too, right at the beginning, when you go to the website, the information about our golf tournament is going to pop up right there. June the 17th. That's a Monday at the Country Club of Ocala. It's a great fundraiser for the Grilled Cheese Foundation, helping young people in their lives afford some of the extras, things like dance shoes, things like if you want to take karate and there's not enough money there. That's what we do here at the Grilled Cheese Foundation. There's a link there that you can find out more, and we would love to have you come out on June the 17th. That's a Monday, tee-off time at 9 o'clock in the morning. We would love to have you there, so check that out. All right, so Sharice, we were talking about pensions there. If somebody tells me that they've got a pension from the post office, a government pension, they work for the state, they worked for a hospital, they worked for the railroad, whatever, that's such a great thing to have that check continue. But when you go into retirement, you have to make a decision. Am I going to take a monthly check from my previous employer, or am I going to take a lump sum and I'm going to take that money into my own control? That seems like a good idea. But here's a study from Harris that says 21% of retirees that took the lump sum ran out of money in 5.5 years. They didn't manage it correctly. So talk to me about that, Sharice. We talk about it's a good thing in many cases to take the lump sum, but right here we see people didn't manage it well.
Right. Well, that's because people are trying to be their own pension managers, and they feel like, hey, if we take this lump sum, now we can pay off the house. But they forget, hey, if we take 100 or 200 grand out of our lump sum to pay off the house, you got a 30 to 40% tax bill. So more money out of that IRA is going to pay the taxes. And then you need a new car. So you feel like you're getting yourself already set to go so that there's no debt. But you got to plan that before that moment. Those things should have already been taken care of before you turn in those keys to your employer, right? But sometimes that doesn't happen. So this is a high percentage. And this is my advice. When an employer says, hey, you can get a guaranteed income for life, or you can take the lump sum and roll it to an IRA, make sure you're sitting down with a retirement financial planner, first and foremost, to do the math, to show you on the big screen what it looks like if you do, if you don't. And here's the math on this. Most advisors won't tell you this, but if you are getting 6% guaranteed income from that lump sum, then it's a really good deal.
Okay.
Right? Up front, it's a really good deal. So I tell a lot of people, if you have money saved elsewhere and we can put that into a plan to create an inflation protection strategy, then sometimes it is better to take the employer plan. But when you take that employer plan, you're putting your money into it's called an immediate annuity. I don't like immediate annuities unless it's only through an employer and they're paying you 6% of that lump sum. But the only problem you have is that you're going to get that paycheck for the rest of your life. That is the same paycheck that you get, hear me out, for the rest of your life. But there's no inflation increase on 90% of those paychecks. Mm-hmm. So if you get let's say $4,000 a month pension today, is that $4,000 a month going to cover your bills in 10 years? And the answer is no. Right now, if you really think about it, the Federal Reserve is trying to chomp down and pull back the reins and get the inflation rate down to 2%. If we get the interest rate down to 2%, that means the cost of goods and everything that we're spending today, it'll take us 20 years before it's going to double. If we leave it at 3%, everything will double in 10 years. So think about that. Let's say the Federal Reserve never gets it down to 2% and it stays a higher rate. That means everything's going to double. The things you're paying for right now is going to double a lot sooner than 10 years, right? So that's the whole reasoning between the government trying to lower interest rates, which is, it's a tough number. So let's now go back to your pensions. And if all the things you're doing today are going to double in 10 years because we can't get the interest rates down, that pension is not enough. So a lot of times we will encourage people to take the lump sum or roll it to an IRA. There's no taxes or penalties. If you really like that income check for life, we can say, let's take half of it and give you that income for life. And let's take the other half and create an inflation protected plan, an inflation protected income plan, so that if things double in 10 years or 20 years, those dollars are there so you can keep up with the cost of goods, right? And so there's no perfect solution here, right? But we'll at least paint the picture, we'll show it to you, and you get to decide. Here's the other issue with the pensions. If you're going to collect a pension from your employer, and you have a surviving spouse that outlives you, are you going to take income for life just on your life? Or are you going to do joint income for both of your lives? Or are you going to say, hey, I'll take my income for life, and if I pass away, only 50% gets passed down to my spouse, or maybe 100%. But when you take 100%, you get less now. So you have to make those critical decisions. And I'm going to tell you, Randy, 5 out of 10 times when people come into my office, they don't make the right decision and because they haven't done the math, and they don't realize that when the spouse passes, not only do we lose one Social Security check, we might lose all that pension or half that pension. And if that is you, we have a backup plan for that surviving spouse, but you're not going to know unless you come in, and you're not going to know if we can't build it out for you for that what if day. What if that happens? It's always about an if. We don't really know, but we can plan. We can help you plan to keep up with inflation. So don't go and retire. Don't go and take that income for life from the employer until we do the plan. Because a lot of times I will advise, we're not biased here. I'll say, yeah, no, I think this is a great deal. Take this pension with your employer. So you're getting a real fiduciary look at what you should or shouldn't do. And be careful if you think you're going to take that lump sum and put it in an IRA and start paying off your debt. That is the worst thing you could do. And you will likely be that person that runs out of money in the next, 10 to 15 years, if not sooner. So that's not the fix all. So let's at least talk about it.
We talk about doing the math on your retirement. Let's do the math on your pension. If you have that pension coming, there's a big decision. They talk about one of the biggest decisions that you'll make in your retirement is when you're going to take Social Security. If you have a pension, probably the biggest decision you will make is, do I take the monthly income or do I take a lump sum? Let's do the math on that for you at Zinnia Wealth. Here's our number. Here's our website. 833-368-3680. Again, 833-368-3680 or zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. Click on that gold box there and you'll be on your way. All right, so we've been talking about some interesting stats that are happening. For instance, this year, 2024, it's called Peak 65. There are more people turning 65 this year than any other year in history because of the baby boomers. Well, here's another one for you. In 10 years, the Census Bureau says there will be more adults in this country than children. For the first time, there will be all these older people, and then you take a look at the number of people under 18. The adults are going to outnumber them, and probably elderly Americans will outnumber them. So tell your grandchildren to go into geriatric care. They will always have a job, and it'll probably be a very nice paying job as well. But Charisse, the whole idea of this generation aging, some of them are going to be just fine. Some of them are going to need an awful lot of assistance. We talk about assisted care. We talk about long-term care. We talk about memory care. There's so much out there, and it is so expensive now. And in 10 or 20 years, I can't imagine. What are we looking at in our area right now, what it costs for that kind of care?
Well, it depends where you're going to stay. I mean, if you go over to the Villages and you need a full-blown nursing facility, it could be $150,000 a year. If you're in Ocala, full-blown could be 60 to 80,000, right? It's a lot of money. And so we have to figure out, do you or don't you need a long-term care plan? When you come in, we talk about building this income stream. How are we going to pull our monies and when? If somebody passes away, now what do we do? But the long-term care plan is built into this income generating plan that we write down for you, because if one of you go into a nursing home and you have $1 million saved, and over the next 20 years, your money is up and down in the stock market, there's no care or forethought on how you're going to pull money out when the market goes down, or are we in the right products because interest rates are going up and down. And then all of a sudden you get thrown a curveball because somebody needs home health care. And maybe for the first 3 years, that's an extra $30,000 out of your pocket to have somebody come in your home 5 days a week, 8 to 5, to help with the bathing, dressing, toileting, continence, all that kind of stuff. And then you go into a full-blown nursing home. You could be in there for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could have dementia, be super healthy and be in one of those. You're forced to go in typically at those times if there's problems, right? So that's a lot of money we have to plan for. And when I will tell you, if I go back 15 years ago, when we were selling John Hancock, Mass Mutual, Genworth, all long-term care type of plans, I wish we hadn't, because the people that were using those never really got to use it to its fullest possibilities and capabilities. And then when they were able to use those long-term care plans, Randy, not everything was paid for. And I wish we would have bought them life insurance instead that had a long-term care builder inside of it, or we were working more with asset protection trusts with our attorneys. To me, those two strategies would have went way better than a long-term care plan with some of these old school companies that don't even want to cover you anymore. So there's some hazards that are upon you all one day. And I know we're not planning for you're going in, or, hey, I had somebody who said, hey, I'm just going to shoot myself. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
I know.
That's probably not going to happen.
You hear this stuff. Yeah.
I hear it all the time. My dad said, I'm going to drive off a bridge and I'll never do that. But one of my very first clients said that to me years ago. And the next thing you know, he had onset dementia and he's in a nursing home and he didn't even know what was going on. It happened so fast. So we can't say those things, but let's plan for the if, because we don't know. And one of the biggest things as being a holistic planner in the retirement years that you're all embarking in, that the holistic planning goes into a deep dive for long-term care. I do not want you to buy a long-term care policy if it's not necessary. I don't need you to go buy a life insurance policy where you're going to pull part of that death benefit for your care if it's not necessary. That's probably not the best place for your money. If you can actually write a check, or we can start diving into these asset protection trusts and strategies that are out there and available to you. But we do want to make sure that the spouse still alive in a house is not financially destitute. So we have to figure out, can you write a check when that person goes into a nursing home in their 80s? Do you have extra care that came from an old employer or plan you already purchased? Does your life insurance allow you to accelerate the death benefit? Can we do the Medicaid spend down? Very few people can do that, Randy, but we'll kind of figure out, can we or can't we, right? Because that's kind of a strategy out there, but do not go alone doing it. There are so many directions. Should you be buying an annuity that has a long-term care rider in it? And I will say, most of the people I sit down with, they don't need those things. We are better off putting that money into a conservative interest-bearing account, just letting it grow 4 or 5% over the next 20 years. And that will pay for the care for most people without paying all this premium and all these extra fees. And I'm going to tell you, it just came to me. A couple came into my office in the Villages a couple of weeks ago, Randy. And they had saved so much. They did so well that they're not even living on enough of their assets. They're never going to run out. Their money's going to double and triple over the next 20 to 30 years. And an insurance agent in the Villages, a female, sold them a life insurance policy 8 years ago. This lady, it was for her husband, put $50,000 in it a year. for 5 years. It gave a $520,000 death benefit. The cash value today is only $220,000. They sold it as a cash value. You can always take loans from it, but you really need this for long-term care. And that $250,000 she put in for this $500,000 death benefit for long-term care, she never needed it. This policy has so many fees in it that we're actually going to roll it out of there. That advisor should have just taken that money from her IRA and rolled it directly over to a Roth to create a tax-free possibility for her legacy and or long-term care in the future that I personally think would have blown away $500,000 in death benefit. And it just drives me crazy because as a fiduciary, we are not going to park money in a tool like that if you don't need it, right? And very far few in between to even do that type of strategy unless there is a real rhyme or reason. I'll say 1 out of 100 people, maybe. So when she came in, she's like, I knew this wasn't right. It sounded too good to be true. And she's like, my $250,000 8 years later isn't even there. So it didn't even make the return that these illustrations were showing, because they were showing like a 7% return. I'm like, they should have been showing like a 4.5% return because there's so many fees inside of them. So again, remember, when you come to us, we take a fiduciary look. We take a retirement look for the next 30 years when we build out these income plans. And she had come into us, we would have never recommended her wasting her money there.
Well, one of the things, 2 points here. Number one, if you've experienced this with a parent or a grandparent, you know that it's a topic of conversation that we have to have because you know what it costs and you know what's going on. If you have not had any relative have any need for any kind of long-term care, look at it this way. You walk into a financial advisor and you're interested in protecting your money. This is a way to protect your money because there may come some time when a bill for $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month comes your way. How long does your money last at that rate? You need to protect your money. You need to protect your money against a nursing home, a long-term care facility, and memory care. Let's protect your money, and let's make sure we have that covered. You don't think you're going to have a fire at your house, but you still buy fire insurance. Same thing here. Give us a call. Give us a look on our website, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com, and click on the button that says Complimentary Retirement Consultation. 833-368-3680 is our number. Well, as the market goes up, we all look at that and go, yippee, I love it. There's somebody else who's celebrating as well. We'll tell you who that is coming up next on Retirement Coffee Talk. Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, find us at zinniawealth.com. You can find our podcast as well. If you go to our website, you'll see a media tab there, and if you click on that, you'll see this show, you'll see portions of shows, you'll see many years worth of shows. So if it's now is the time that you're starting to think about and research retirement, it's a great place to start. There's a lot of guides there. You can hit on the education tab, hit useful guides. You can download a whole bunch of stuff. Our website's really got a lot of great resources for you. That again, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. All right, we talk about 401ks on the show, and that's how most of us save for retirement now. There's about 70 million people in the United States that are putting money in a 401k, which is great. And you should be happy about that. You should be proud about that. You know who's even happier about that? Uncle Sam. Because when you add up how much we have in 401ks and IRAs, if you take a look at Uncle Sam's cut of that money, it equals up now to $2 trillion. We all know that not all that money is ours. Uncle Sam has a piece of it. $2 trillion. So he's sitting there wringing his hands going, I can't wait to get my hands on this money. So, Sharice, one of the things we talk about to limit your tax liability in retirement is take some of that 401k money and convert it over to a Roth, little bits at a time, as you're going to retirement and even in retirement. So tell me, who's a good candidate for this and who's not, and how does this help us in our retirement years?
Right. So, we're going to be very soon, before you know it, our country is going to be at $4 trillion in debt. And $2 trillion goes to Uncle Sam. That's still not enough to get us out of debt. And that $2 trillion is today's numbers, right? Mm-hmm. And if we fast forward to 10 and 20 years, this gets a whole lot worse, because if we're $4 trillion in debt here before you know it, there's only a couple ways for our country to, get into a surplus instead of a deficit here. And that is lower spending, which will probably never happen, and or raise revenue. So this is on the tax burden today. What if taxes go up a little bit? Or what if the standard deduction just goes down and your marginal tax brackets don't go up? It is way bigger than this $2 trillion, right? So this is kind of a soft blow, right? Because it's going to, in my opinion, going to get way worse. So should we be considering rolling some of our IRAs over to a Roth IRA? So think back to when you started contributing to a 401k. Let's go back to 1980s when that actually started happening. And now the pensions weren't around. They're more like dinosaurs, and they didn't want to offer them anymore. They didn't want to be liable to pay that guaranteed income to you in the future. So they came up with the 401ks, and now you are your own pension manager. And all the dollars you put in, plus all of the growth, plus the entire match your employers put in, has grown tax deferred on this seed that is now blossomed into this humongous apple tree. And now you have this huge tax burden, which we call the ticking time bomb, because it never goes away while you're living and your spouse are living. And then when one spouse dies, then we have a higher tax bill for the surviving spouse. So it gets heavier and worse, which means less income for the surviving spouse. And when the second spouse passes, then we got the kiddos penalty, because they got to cash out these puppies over 10 years now. They cannot stretch it for the rest of their lives, right when they're probably in the highest income brackets they're ever going to see. And it is daunting. The tax burden gets worse and worse. And you think it's terrible now while you're living? Goodness gracious, it just doesn't go away. So this is a really great reason to consider rolling some of your IRAs over to a Roth every year. But Randy, when you do that, when you roll that IRA this year, you have to pay the tax this year on that rollover to the Roth. And so people start looking at the math. They're like, oh, I don't really want to pay that tax right now, right? Because I got to pull the monies from my bank account. I like having that cash. It feels good having it there. Now I got to pay it to Uncle Sam. Well, if any of you think taxes are going to double in the future, it's a great idea. If the taxes go down in the future, it was a really bad idea. But if you're worried about your surviving spouses and the kids who are going to be sitting there with this debt from the government, and then also I'm going to call it your debt, your 401k and retirement plans, it is, I will say 40 to 50% of your legacy will go back to Uncle Sam in taxes. So let's protect that, because I know you didn't work for 30 years and put this money in this 401k to give almost half of it back to Uncle Sam when you pass away. No, I don't think so. So we have to be productive and we have to take action now. Taxes are on sale. They are on sale. And when taxes expire here and change, December 31st, 2025, taxes aren't going to be on sale anymore. But we might have another 4-year window where taxes could go up a little bit or the standard deduction go down before we really get slapped around and they start being changed and they become more painful, where we can't even roll IRAs over to a Roth because it's too expensive at some point. So when shoes go on sale at the store, I go buy 3 or 4 of them and then I'm good for the year. Same thing with taxes. They're on sale. Take advantage of this right now, because there is going to be a day of reckoning, retirees, and all those dollars you've saved in these tax deferred accounts and these retirement accounts with your employers. It's the age of 73, the day of reckoning. And that age, you are forced to pull money out of those retirement accounts at a whopping average of 3.65% a year. And every year that 3.65% goes up every year. By the time you're in your late 80s, you're having to pull out 8% out of those retirement accounts. And your retirement accounts could still be doubling. So if you've got $1 million today and you have to pull out 4% this year, that's $40,000. And if that money doubles over the next 10 years, well, in 10 years, that 4% has gone up to at least 5%, and you're pulling 5% on $2 million. So think about that big tax burden that is coming very, very soon for you. And I want to plan for it now while we have some time. Or if you're in that retirement red zone 10 years before retire, let's consider rolling these IRAs over to a Roth, even if you're not 59 and a half, because if you do a rollover, you don't pay that penalty to Uncle Sam.
Well, in our retirement, if you have all 401k money, you literally have to pay a toll before you get your money, and that's your tax bill every year. And you think about, one of these days they may eliminate the Roth. They may eliminate the Roth conversion. They already eliminated file and suspend in Social Security. They eliminated some deductions like rent and interest and things that we used to be able to do. And it's the same as raising taxes. And as Cherise says, January of 2026, the Trump tax reforms will go away, and taxes will automatically go up back to the Obama tax rates. And that means many of us will go into a higher tax bracket. So give us a look, give us a call. Let's talk about taxes in your retirement and make sure that we have a plan for that as well. Here's our number. Here's our website, ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. Click on the button that says Complimentary Retirement Consultation, or give us a call and we'll set up a day. 833-368-3680, 833-368-3680. That is all of the time we have for today. Cherise, I'll give you the last word on this one.
All right. Thank you guys all for tuning in. If you have any questions, you want me to talk about it on air, just go to our website. If you missed any of the show, we talked a lot about retirement planning, taxes, what to do, income planning, pension planning. Go to our podcast if you have an Apple phone, there's a free podcast there on your Apple phone. If you go to YouTube, Google, Spotify, iTunes, you name it, we're on every podcast link. Listen to our old shows and catch up to what we're talking about, because you need to plan now. And we said some really important things today. Thanks again. You guys could be hanging out at the beach, getting some sun, kayaking, canoeing, whatever you guys do, but you're listening today. We appreciate you so much as continued listenerships out there, and live by design and not by default. And we'll see you here next week.
This has been Retirement Coffee Talk. To find out more about how the strategies we've discussed on this program can build the retirement you've been wanting, call Zinnia Wealth at 352-368-3680 or visit us online at ZinniaWealth.com.
Cherise Rivers is an investment advisor representative of Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Cherise Rivers is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency, and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any client experiences discussed during this show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Cherise Rivers, NPN Insurance License Number 8718011.